Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Mohammed Shahriar, almost a Gold Microsoft Learn Institute Ambassador and the Azure Tech Group Lead of Bangladesh. Okay, so previously we have learned about basically the lot of services, VM, F services, how can we create one using Cloud Shell and so on. So now in this session, we're basically focusing much more deep diving onto like networking, which you previously just learned about basic stuff. Now we will learn much more about it, and VNet pairing and so on. Okay, now let's start with that. So first of all, if we go to our Microsoft OneNote. So first of all, like as we have learned about this scope previously, so what is this scope all about? It is basically like within a subscription. First of all, we have we do have billing accounts, right? Previously, if you know, we have billing accounts, and within that we have done subscriptions. Okay, we have subscriptions, and within the subscriptions we have resource groups, and within the resource groups we have resources. So when we see any when we are going to create anything, just if you talk about the last session we were talking about, it was the web app. So you saw like subscription and resource group was something we had to provide, right? And when you want to create a subscription, you have to create a billing account, and when you want to create a billing account, you need to have a card, okay, which is as a whole dual currency or multi-currency card, okay, as a whole. So if you can pay it, so that you can pay, okay. So this is basically called scope, okay. So this is what you need to know as a whole, and we can have multiple resource group, multiple resources, and so on. We can have multiple subscription as a whole. So this is what it is. Now talking about that, now if we deep dive into Azure networking, right? Networking. Now first of all, if you talk about the subscription, starting from the subscription, okay, we're just going to start from this one, okay, and assume that the resource group has also been created. So I'm just going to create this one, like subscription. We have a subscription, and within that we have a resource group, okay, no issues, resource. And within that we have something, we're actually creating a VNet, virtual networking, for that reason. So it's basically VNet, and previously we have talked about VNet as a whole, right? And we did mention this is what we mean in VNet actually. Okay, now what we are up to is we want to know the bigger picture of VNet, okay, what actually is happening. So if you talk about this is a VNet, and basically it has a name, so we can give it in something like VNet name, okay, something, okay. This is for the image, it's not how the all of the coding aspect is all about. And this is basically the resource. So if you now want to compare them, you can see subscription, resource group, and resource. So this is basically, there might be a subscription from your end, a resource group you can create, and this is a resource, okay. So within a VNet, what can we have? That was the question. So we can have subnets, we can have only VMs as well, but we can have subnets as well, right? So we can have subnet, so subnet 1, and we can have subnet 2, cool. And within the subnet we can have resources, right? And as a whole this is also a resource, but this VM is something we're much more focusing on. So it can be resource, it can be anything actually, VM or something, but we do in general, we do keep the VMs here, okay. Let me give it VM, okay, no issues, this can be done, okay. Now the factor is, now if you want to contact like the VNet, if VNet wants to connect to the internet, okay, what they should go for, they actually by default there is a rule and default path. So through that, actually what we do is we can connect to internet. So by default, anyone can connect to the internet part. The problem happens if you want to connect or anyone want to access your VNet or anything within the VNet, you have to create a public IP. Okay, so this is kind of if anyone can actually connect or you can access internet from here, but from internet or from outside of your VM, if anyone wants to access your VNet, they have to create a public IP. Sorry, they know, not that. You have to create a public IP so that they can access it. Okay, so if like any, I think this would be better. If anyone from the internet wants to connect, they have to access it from public IP. Okay, got it? So if you want to do that, basically you can do it by default. So I can call it like default, but this is what you have to create of your own. If you create this one, then anyone from the internet, they can access your VM or VNet or something using your public IP. So I was mentioning about like, okay, so what can happen is like about the private IP as well. So I was mentioning like the private IP is basically for the connection of the resources within themselves. So VM both can connect. So private IP is basically as a whole, you are keeping all of your data, all of the things in Azure. So within the cloud, if you want to use it or only within the cloud, so you have to understand few things. Okay, just understand what is happening. So this is Azure, or assume this is Azure portal. Okay, this is important to understand. And this is the whole world or something, a web browser or something. Okay, this is a web browser or something. Okay, so in an Azure portal, you can have many services or something. So if they want to connect, so assume that all of these lines are services, and this is 1, this 2, this 4. So if they want to connect within themselves or want to contact each other or do something, they have to connect over private IP, which is not known by anyone in the internet, maybe your friend or something. But if anyone want to use this service or something, anything, they have to provide an IP address here, right? Okay, into the browser. So what is that IP address? This is basically the public IP address. Okay, this public IP is something you do create one. Okay, public IP. Now the question might arrive, like into the browsers we don't actually provide IP, right? So what do? We do provide domain names, right? So we do actually name our IPs. So how can you do that? So there are various ways. So basically one of the ways are kind of Azure provided name resolution. Another one is Azure DNS private zones. And another one is like own DNS server or Azure DNS. Right. This is the ways kind of you can use your like IP from your IP. You can make it like give it a domain name or something. So it is easy for the user, something like if you talk about Google, if you talk about Azure or something, all have some IP addresses there, but those are kind of hidden because it's very tough for someone, a user, to actually write all of those down, because it might be they can create some mistake. But it's better like if you give it a letter or something, which is basically domain names. It's far more better for anyone to go for that and then practice or go to that browser. So yeah, that's the thing. Now we are talking about the VNets. Okay, now you know about the VNet, like how the whole thing works, and you have got a very good idea about it. Now you have a VNet, you know about the VNet right now, huh? So assume that this is a VNet and this is another VNet as a whole. Okay, now kind of VNet 1 and it's VNet 2. So you want to actually connect both, right? So this is something we actually knew previously, which was called VNet peering, right? It's not pairing, right? But there is also global VNet pairing as a whole, so you can use that too. Okay, So now you can say like, okay, how can we get the benefit from it, right? Now kind of this is a VNet. If you just connect another VNet with it, you can just access to these things, right? Also same goes for like you can connect your subnets as a whole too, right? So these are the benefits. Like why do we connect? So that we don't need to actually create all of the stuff again, the public IP again and so on. No, we just don't need to go create the access. If we know if these two are connected, we can just go for the internet access and so on. We can do that, right? Okay, now few other things is like how can you connect your on-premises devices with VNet. So now what we have done is we've connected our VNet to VNet. Now if you think like you're using something locally, okay, in your local company, or like you own a company, and okay, so and you want to connect that one, anything, any services from your VNet. This is your VNet with your local on-premises. So how can you do that? There are basically two ways as a whole, which is one of the ways is that Azure VPN, virtual private network, and another one is ExpressRoute. ExpressRoute. Okay, so virtual private network, as we have heard previously, what is Azure, how actually VPN works. It was basically, if you have seen our previous lectures, you will see like it is basically connecting. It is actually what I would say is like provide a path where all of your traffic is kind of locked and in goes in a secured way. But if you talk about express route, it is something the connection or the route is actually fixed for you. So if you know none can actually access that, then it's much more secure. But the problem is express route is much more expensive. So that's the big issue for companies to actually solve it out. Okay, but like how one can actually use that thing, that's an issue. Okay, let's go like how we can use Azure VPN to connect VNet and on premises. We can do that. Let's go for that. So now Azure VPN, using Azure VPN. Okay, Azure VPN, we know VPN, virtual private network, right? Cool. Now the thing is like on premises, like a local system or in a local office or something. This is basically called on premises. Okay, so assume that this is a building or something. I'm just giving a something like home or something. Okay. Now what happens is like there is the Azure VPN service. Okay, and also we have to create a Azure VPN gateway. Okay, Azure VPN gateway, and then we can connect the VNet as a whole. So this is the whole process. So why, you might ask like, why did we knew, or why are we learning this, right? Because this is the internet as a whole. Okay, just understand. And here is the secured traffic which goes on to your on premises, like okay, this is the on premises one. Okay, so this is your VNet, this was your target, and this is your source. So to connect that, you have to actually connect it to Azure VPN gateway and then Azure VPN, and then you could connect it then over internet, and it went through a secure traffic. That was the thing. Now in this way, basically what happens is like you can connect your like only one devices out here in this way, like on premises one device, just one. This is one thing, but there are other ways, something that you could actually go for. Okay, so there are like few things called routing and so on. Okay, now we are going to understand about something about routing or something. Okay, so maybe in your like classes, class 8, 9 or 10 or something, you might have heard about routers and so on. Okay, so basically you have to choose the routing policy as a whole. So not routing policy, it's basically routing. So this is one concept which is like point to site concept. Okay, like, you know, like point to, this is basically point to site, and you can only have like only one device here. Now you can select what is point to site, or when we will understand how we can create this point to site or something like that. So it is basically point to site is when you choose, because when you are using the Azure portal, you have to choose basically policy based routing, which is basically goes for point to site. And if you choose route based, which is basically like based for oh my bad, so it shouldn't be, it is point to site. Policy based is not the point to site, shouldn't be. Okay, policy based is not the point to site, but route based, if you choose the route based, is basically point to site. So if you choose route based here as the routing, you will be using point to site basically. Okay, so this is one thing, and you can actually get only one device here. Now we can understand about like using the express route, right? Express route, great. Now if you talk about the same thing, like your on premises, maybe you can create a home here, you are using basically the express route here, not those gateways or so on. And these are VNet. Okay, we're just using this, and this is secure, like you only fixed, this is your dedicated connection, so you can actually use that. Okay, that's one thing. So as a whole, you can go for these kind of things, or also, and there are another few things kind of you can use and go for in express route. Okay, these are kind of direct model or service provided models and so on. So there are a lot of things we can go for. So how those are actually done, if we want to know. Okay, so first of all, in express route, if you are using, you can use a direct model, which is basically how it's done. It's basically like the way, basically the way how we can connect your VNet to ExpressRoute on something. So this is our VNet, and when actually you are using, like this is the ExpressRoute location. Okay, so this is basically something like express route location by Microsoft, which is in your local place, maybe it might be there, so you have to know that, so you can be connected connect to this place, so it will be better for you. So that Microsoft has already done this thing for you in a local place. You can then connect it to this, and you can easily connect your local on premises out there, so it's much more better for you. Express route location is one thing. Okay, so basically it supports kind of 10 GB to 100 GB per second. Okay, now this is basically service model, but there are another few models as a whole, which are basically sorry, this is basically direct model. There are another models which are basically service providers. So service providers who gave that. So the same thing, like if you talk about the VNet, we are connecting your VNet, right? So VNet, so right now, so I've actually discuss about like what is the main difference, but it's basically the same thing. Actually, you want to connect your VNet to the on premises, so these are one of the few ways you can do that. So what you can do is, you can using the VNet, you can go for express route, and then there's like there should be cloud exchange location. It was express route location, this is cloud location, maybe Microsoft provided. Okay, great. Again, there can be like from your VNet, what can happen is you can use express route, this one, express route, no issues, but the same thing. But here you can use a one, maybe wide area network, you have heard about it. So you can use this and connect to your local office. Okay, done. And basically it can be like any to any connection. Okay, now but there are kind of another ways like from your VNet you can use the express route. And I'm not just writing or creating something, I might just create this one, like this one, express route. And then what you can do is like you can connect to the office, but here the issues is like it will be point to point Ethernet connection. Okay, so there are a few ways. So you can see what happens is as a whole if you talk about it, right? So if we use this one, you can see we are just connecting on VNet to express route through express route basically. But here is the difference is basically we're using express route direct here. So which we can mean by this as a whole. So we can write it down, express route direct. So that is what I didn't write, to be honest, because that is the main difference as a whole. So in the direct model, you can connect to VNet to express route direct, and then it will take you to express route location by Microsoft, and then you can connect to local system. And also if you talk about service provider like VNet to express route and then Microsoft, like where the cloud exchange location is, or again the same Microsoft. And with that you can also connect over WAN network to your local office, and also you can connect to here same thing, and you can just use the point to point Ethernet cables, something like that. So as a whole, we just actually learned about like express route, how can we connect to local system. So also like we have express route global reach, connecting these things. Okay, so these were the thing, and I think you have got the basic concepts about our how can we connect our local systems or on premises to VNet, and something like VNet peering, and how the whole VNet is working. So that should be enough for knowing what is VNet, how can we connect our local system with VNet as a whole. So yeah, thank you so much for being part of the session, and hope to see you in the next session.